Hi guys. So it is August 13th. Yeah, 13th. I'm gonna go out and shoot my bow a little bit. Didn't shoot yesterday. Hurt my a muscle in my shoulder and left side of my neck, down in my shoulder blade. Yesterday, so it hurt pretty bad. So I was playing around with a new pack yesterday that I got for this year, and I'm really excited to have it. Yeah, I'm just gonna come out here and shoot my bow for a bit and film me shooting my bow, doing all that. Nothing really super formal about it. Doing some things, still tweaking a little bit of my setup. I put the Bee Stinger 10-inch back on and bought a 8-inch Bee Stinger, so I have a 10 and an 8 with the side there, the side mount, off bar, whatever, offset mount, whatever you want to fancy dancy call it. I'm just going to kind of start from 40 yards, just working on shooting deer. Fun stuff. All right, so that was at 40 yards. That's usually what I like to start off with, is shooting a little farther out. I was making some adjustments because I was noticing that the arrows were flying way left from where my pin was. So it's just kind of moving the sight out to try and get that left to right. Kind of working out here. I'm going to go back to down to 10 and just check it just to make sure that I didn't mess it up. Either it was me just from my grip or anything like that, but constantly just trying to hone in, make sure I'm shooting the bow correctly. It's not the tightest group. So again, just kind of checking left and right, just making sure I'm dialed in from a sight standpoint. Most part, it's a little bit of my grip, but those last two arrows, don't worry about that third one. That one was weird. I think that was my grip. Those last two were pretty much dialed on. Pretty much there. It's dialed. Now it's just getting that pull and that grip down and getting gosh darn consistent. So I just wanted to go over a couple of changes that I did to the TX5 since the last review that I did, where I kind of went over at that particular point where the build was. I made a few changes, some equipment changes for the most part. So I'm gonna kind of run through some of the stuff that I got for it, along with a little bit of the arrow setup. I kind of tweaked it just a little bit. So the new thing that's different from when I first got at it there, when I did the review on it, is I added a Black Mountain carbon driver sight, slider sight. Awesome sight, actually. So I'm gonna kind of give you guys a little rundown here. So I have a tape on there. It's a 4-pin slider sight, so the bottom pin is the one I use when I slide. Right now, for where it's set up, that bottom pin is set up to be at 40 yards. And then going from top to bottom, there's a green on top, that's at 15, the red's at 25, and the yellow is at 35, which is interesting because typically a lot of people like to do 10, 20, 30, 40. But I found, they shoot a little high at 20 and 30, but it elongates the ability for me to use that pin across distances. So it shoots a little high at 20, a little high at 30, but allows me to really actually just be able to cover a lot of those in betweens, so between 35. So really I can truly use my yellow pin for 30 all the way up to about 39 yards before I have to switch. Same goes with the 20-yard pin. The other couple things that I added is I originally bought a Trophy Ridge 8 and 6-inch stabilizer, and after shooting it, at first it was really awesome to have that offset there, but what I started to feel is that it didn't distribute really helped me stabilize the bow enough. So I flopped on the 10-inch Bee Stinger micro hex that I used on my Darton, and I felt it disperses the weight in a much stabler way. And in order to get the ratio right, I also my OCD, I bought an 8-inch micro hex from the Runnings that is right down the road, and that combo has been killer. I feel much more stable, smooth, and everything that I do. And if you notice, there's a lovely little color combination that's going on here, where it's black and green. It's one of my favorite color combos is black and green. Arrow wise, I kind of shifted up a little bit. So instead of having 5-inch wraps, I am now down to 4-inch wraps. And I also, instead of using all white fletchings, I have one white as my knocking or my cocking feather, and then 2 kiwis going again with that white and green, little infusion of some green colors, which is stupid. Really, there's no really validity to it other than it just looks cool. But there's a little bit, just kind of shaving down a little bit of the weight from switching from a like 7-inch or 5-inch wrap down to a 4. It just cuts a little bit on the grains on the back end. Otherwise, the component parts of the arrows are still the same. So now I'm going to shoot some more. So just shoot, practice, 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 shoot, practice, 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 practice. So I'm going to go back to 30 here and actually kind of just get a little better read on that pin setup with it being zeroed pretty much at 35. Just see really where I need to put it at 30. Rangefinder is key. So a lot of the times, like at least in this part, once I got to sighting it in, getting more comfortable with actually shooting the bow and kind of getting to learn where or how the bow shoots with relation to the sight, like at yardages and stuff like that. Then I start getting into more real world applications to try and focus on like quartering to, quartering away shots, different scenarios in my head, kind of running them through and visualizing them and where I want to put the arrow and stuff like that when it's like realistic. So at 50 yards, I shouldn't be trying to shoot 12 rings. It's more so just trying to get it anticipating the duck and everything else and just making it way more complicated than it has to be, but just things for you to think about. So never mind that one. That's still pretty good. My standards is to have all 5 of them, like the 4 of them, but I'm human, but my standards are high because the animal deserves it. So for those of you that are looking for a pretty good target to use for a bow, I recommend Hurricane Bag targets. They're pretty good. If you catch them on a deal, pretty good, like 40 bucks or less, stuff like that. So we actually have one of the smaller ones right here. Kind of use it for getting closer and getting those like kind of like precise little things utilizing the dot. Then we have a bigger bag that has the deer. It's actually out here. If you're looking for a new target, Hurricane bags, you can find them at Field and Stream or any other like popular main chain whatever stores, but if you can really find them at a deal, like if they're doing a sale or something like that, yeah, check them out. So one of the things this year that I'm doing that I've never done before in all my years of actually shooting a bow, I've always used an index release. This year I switched over and I'm using a hand release, and this is the TrueFire Sear Synapse. Yeah, Synapse, there we go. TrueFire Synapse, that's right. Thumb button release, which is something that took me a long time and I'm still not used to it yet, just in terms of that back tension, not wanting to punch it, so basically just squeeze it. It's not like I'm just like smacking it, like doing that, which is good. It's just like as soon as my thumb kind of hits, I just want to squeeze instead of actually trying to pull all the way through in that back tension and use my elbow and try and just pull back like I'm going to hit a wall. So I'm working on that, and that's basically the technical side of it. My shooting stance and the release, the actual executing the shot, that I'm just still working on, kind of going through that. I'm a little apprehensive about it, like in the moment, just because of how picky this thing is. Because like any little thing, if you're not consistently anchored in the same spot, like if your hand's a little low, it's going to change where the arrow goes. If your hand's a little high, it's going to change where the arrow goes. So you really have to get it. For me, where I've actually liked it, where I first started, was actually trying to get it so it was back, but it was a little lower on my jawbone, where this V is. So where that V is, where my index finger or pointer and my middle, where that V is, now it sits right in the corner of my jaw. So I really pull back and I just kind of punch that V right into that V. So the V's, they're scissoring. They're scissoring. I'm funny. Scissoring, I can't take it seriously. The corner of my jaw is right tucked in between the two knuckles in between my pointer and my middle finger, and I try and find that spot the whole time, and that's one. And then my ultimate check is the peep, and just make sure the peep covers the hole. Look at the bubble, settle the pin, thumb on the button, pull. That's my process I'm working on, trying to hone. That's some fun things for you guys to look at if you want to look and switching over. You can teach an old dog new tricks, it's fine. Actually, you can also shoot index releases actually that same kind of way, that back tension where you're pulling through your shot all the way through. If you really want to learn a few more tools, check out John Judley. He's really good. Gives some really good information on trying to execute that shot and like how to go through that whole process, everything like that, especially with using a hand release. So check him out. So I'm gonna shoot a little bit more, just kind of just shut up. I'm gonna get some cool footage of arrows going into targets, so yay. I always gotta have one kicker out of the 5. One of them. Unacceptable. Unacceptable. Can't have it. Can't have it. I mean, I can put 4 away all day, including the first shot. Can't have the 1. It only takes 1 to make a bad day. Fuck you. Which is really fuck myself, but anyway. So, I've shot my rounds, did my practice, got the rust out, tuned it up. Groupings are coming, they're getting there, they're improving. But I got some busy stuff planned for next week involving scouting and actually getting out into the woods. This week right now is the last week of summer school that I work at. So once that's done, I'll have some more free time during the day. And I definitely fully plan on utilizing that to scout out for deer. So be prepared for more videos of scouting trips and stuff like that coming from Corey and myself real soon. Oh, one more thing. If you're in around the Western New York area, like from Buffalo to Rochester to blah, make sure you guys, if you're still in need of, like, you're trying to get a new bow or anything like that, look up Bullseye Archery in Bloomfield, New York. They're awesome. Rich is a sweet dude. That's where I got mine from. Sweet guy. So check him out. Bullseye Archery, Bloomfield, New York. Oh, I'll go out and check the one camera I've had. It's been soaking since last Friday. I'm just gonna get an initial pull here just to kind of see what's around. Brought some little sensies because I made a couple scrapes when the ground was kind of soft. So I'm gonna add some urine to it, swap out the cards, and let that one really soak for a bit. Just want to see if deer are coming into the scrapes, see what's around, and really see what happens when you add some scent to it and really just get them right in front of the camera. So it's really fucking thick in here. Oh my god, it's like a jungle. Fucking thorns. Super fucking thick in here. Alright, to the first scrape. Not hit all that hard. Second one, definitely had some tracks in it. Maybe another buck hit it. There's definitely gonna be some pictures. There should be some pictures on this card because there's definitely some tracks there that were actually inside the scrape. Ow. Son of a gun. Putting it there so I put some buck urine, a little doe. Just gonna see if that brings any more in. Maybe brings in one of the big resident bucks, new ones. It's kind of new for the past couple of years, including the one that I do have in footage, which I'll show you right now. So last year I got to see that buck. We had a trail cam picture of that buck towards like the end of July in Velvet last year. I think he's still around. I didn't shoot him. I think anybody else shot him. There's him and there's another bigger buck that's around. So hopefully get a picture of those guys. One of them, or both of them, either one. Just kind of see where it's at. So I'm gonna go in, read this card right here, just kind of see who stopped by, who walked by. Yeah. Well, check the card. I had no idea. There's not one shooter buck. There's two shooter bucks with a lot of character. And I haven't seen this many deer or bucks with kickers. Like, this is... I'm so happy. That was such a nice little surprise. Being like, yep, Bambi's dad pretty much, like, lives in your backyard. Yes! So what's kind of cool about this is these two bucks we have on trail camera in velvet first. That's new. That's something that just started this past year. And two, it's August, beginning of August. So that means those two bucks live around here, which is something that I've never seen before. This is new because they're building a bunch of like new houses on the other side of like this lot from where the house is. So it's pushing and changing some of the environment and the habitat where the deer are. So these two bucks, their core area is right around here. And basically all I had to do in order to see the interactions between them, and there were some does that I have on there as well. But all I did was just add a scrape right in front of where that camera is. I just tore up the ground. Didn't add any scent or anything like that. And he came in and he checked it like he normally would, and which is something I've heard guys say that, hey, do this. If you don't believe them, I'm a believer now. You should start scraping now. Just add a scrape. Just tear up the ground. That's all you got to do. That's it. All I did was just walk up underneath some overhanging, like some lower branches on the middle of this path. That's all that was out back behind this house, which is in a suburb north of a village, of an urban area. There's some ag fields a little bit on some other spots, which is that has to be where he's been getting his food. But all I did was on this path walking out to where like the stand is. I mean, that's like inside 50 yards from a stand that we have. And all I did was just go down on this path underneath like a branch that could be a little king branch for these deer. And all I did was just tear up the ground. Just took my foot and just tore it up with some boots that I had on. Didn't put any scent down. And actually the first pictures that I got, which is the video of the does, is that they were coming in, and the first picture was her actually sniffing the branches and then actually licking them. You can actually see the tongue. So all I did was just add a scrape, and then all of a sudden that became a deer social spot. And because the does were there 3 days before that dude showed up, that's one of the reasons why he came in and investigated the whole thing. And I don't think the camera caught this, but I'm pretty sure he actually also scraped up that ground too. Because it looked like literally like how I left it, with a little more groove marks. So I was like, someone's hit this. I just didn't know who. Now I know who. So that's really exciting to see that caliber of deer literally right out back here. And it's been a number of years since I've seen a deer of that size out back here. And it's also really cool that these deer are around here right now in the beginning of August, because again, that means they're living here. This is their core area. They're not trying to rut for does or anything like that. They're not entering out. So that's awesome. So that also tells me that, like last year, where I kind of felt that buck, and that's the same buck that I did film, that is the same one, that he was living around here, and I got to see him. So good chance I get to see one of those. Hopefully we'll get a good chance to see one of those two bucks this fall. I'm pumped. I am so pumped. It's not about the horns, but god damn it, do they look pretty and just make you jack up, because it just looks, that's a wall of antler. That's so big. Oh my god. Plus his body's huge. He's just big. Really big. Like the other buck, the second buck that came in, he's not a slouch. I don't think he's that young of a deer. He's probably 3. But just in comparison to the 4 or 5 year old, whatever the monstrosity that horse that was, he's just kind of dwarfs. But he also has some funky character too, because he's got a little like a warrior club with like on his front. He's got some kickers off on the front side of that. He's got a kicker off on his right side on one of the G2 or 3. One of those two. He's got really long brow tines. He's a nice buck too. Both of them in New York State and around here, you shoot them. They're shooters. So definitely the first one. So that's fun and exciting. Made my Tuesday. So thanks for watching, guys. That was a really cool way to kind of kick off the week, or at least end of Tuesday. So hopefully that is a sign of things to come for this fall for 5x5 outdoors. So thanks for watching.